Hello everyone and welcome to Charleston Antique Mall. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for our free vintage lipstick tube class taught by Leslie. We ask that any customers please turn off your cell phones, any dealers please turn off your walkies. We thank you for joining us today. We ask you to come join us next month on September 14th for our primitives class and to check out all of our past classes on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram for our Instagram Live and Story Sales. Thank you guys. Have a great day and we welcome Leslie for our lipstick tube class.
Thank you. This is one of my favorite subjects, and I've done as much research as I think that is possible on this subject of lipstick tubes. Now, to kind of give a bit of a background, the fact that makeup has been used for thousands of years. And the Egyptians used it, men and women, and so it's been around a long time, but it goes in and out of fashion. Now, in the 1800s, it was not fashionable except for actresses, people on stage, and after World War I, which everything is very conservative during war years. So after World War I and after people stopped dying of the Spanish flu, then there were the 20s. And this was an emancipation for women. They began to vote. They were also beginning to think differently. And if they wanted to wear a lipstick, they were going to wear a lipstick. And so this was not just for ladies of the night anymore or actresses. This was something they could do every day. Now there was cosmetics that were done in the 1800s, but they were very, very subtle. They were light pink, and the whole idea was to not look like you had any makeup on at all. Well, the 1920s changed it, and also early 20th century had something emerging that would affect style dramatically and still does today, and that's Hollywood. So movies were coming out, talkies were coming in, and the women could see that the actresses had makeup on, that they had lipstick and eyeshadow and things like that. So they wanted to do the same thing. I have not been able to find out who was the first manufacturer of the lipstick tube. I think the information has been obscured and it's just not there. But probably it originated in Europe. They were always ahead of us, and especially in France. Now, the oldest one that I have is a little tube from a company called Savage. And this is definitely in the 1920s. It has a cobalt blue base to the tube. It is a twist up, so that you can see how dark they start off. They were done with the subtle makeup. And this was to look glamorous. And then on top of the tube that covers it is cut out with topless dancers, and it reminds me so much, if you're familiar with the entertainer Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker, thank you. And she was very famous in Europe and in Paris, and that's what it reminds me of. If you get a chance, come up and look at this little thing. A lot of detail to it. It's been incised with designs, and then they're cut out so that the cobalt blue shows behind it. Then they had lots of companies that did very cheapo kind of tubing. This is just paper and plastic. This is a company, and this is from the 20s. This is Coty, some of Coty's first. This is just cardboard, and they hadn't really gotten into a very stylish type of tube yet. It just wasn't going to come about yet. Here's another one that's early. It's called Chen Yu. It has an interesting little kind of a elastic thing, totally plastic, and but still has a lot of detail to it. And that was a very early one. Then there was a company, this is another Chen Yu from the same company. And I love this case. It's like waves and things that are embossed on the top of the cap. There was a company that began with this Savage, and by the way, the title itself is not very, it conjures up all kinds of things. The fact that it was called Savage in the 1920s, but this one is called Don Juan, and this one was part metal and part, and you can see how dark the lipstick is. This has a little insignia on it of a man, I assume was Don Juan, and the rest of it is metal. So it progressed to the metal tube. Then we have the bullet, and that's what most people think of when you think of vintage lipstick, is the bullet tube. But that was not all there was. There was tons of others. Now, I have tried to find old ads that date some of these. Now, I did find one for tattoo, and you can tell from her makeup and everything that it's from the 20s. This one is Chen Yu. That's these two in the middle. And this is one of their ads from the late 20s, early 30s. So you can see that they were getting into some heavy advertising. And this was coming about. This was all new, and the companies were jumping on the bandwagon. Another thing that was produced were these handkerchiefs, because the colors were so dark that in order to blot their lipstick, they needed something that wasn't going to stain it. So all the lipstick hankies are red. This one has a penguin on it, and then this one has a Scotty dog, which was very popular in the 20s and 30s, the Scotty dog symbol. Here I have, this is a Guerlain object that is on the counter in the makeup department. It's just a mock giant advertisement lipstick. Here I have a photo. You can tell how early that is, and she's putting lipstick on. Okay, so because of Hollywood, as I mentioned before, this was a big influence on the makeup area. And so one of the influencers was a cosmetic man that worked for the studios, and his name was Max Factor. And he got the idea to not just do movies, and television hadn't come into being yet, but for movies, but for the general masses, for women. So you can see how dark these were, and he came up with all of this. Then he got his Hollywood starlets to advertise for him. So here's one with Rita Hayworth, and she's advertising. You can see the exact, this is what I like about collecting the advertisements, is you can see right in the picture that it's this one, like that. Now, I brought this holder out because, of course, as the shades progress to all different colors, you needed different holders for them for the dressing table. Every woman had a dressing table. Then and they were separate. You know, you bought the holders separate and you bought the lipsticks separate. Then Helena Rubinstein came out with her own holder with fancy lipsticks that went with it. So these, I don't have them all collected yet, but there's an orange one and a red one that I don't have yet. But this was a Far East and Middle Eastern influences on something exotic for the design of the lipsticks. So we're starting to get into the design part here. And they got kind of comical and unique. Here's one that is a little plastic dachshund dog, what you could take with you. It was a novelty thing. Here's one that is a pig, a little brass pig with the lipstick still there. And these were just little novelty things. They were starting to get pretty creative about these. Then there was the company called Revlon that came up with a brilliant idea. Now, I don't know that they were actually the originators, but they took the idea and ran with it no matter what. They decided that they would do some very fancy lipstick tubes in the 50s, mid-50s, and that you could have these beautiful lipstick tubes and you could change the lipstick. So these were refills you could buy, and then you could use your jeweled lipstick tubes. Now these were produced or designed by Van Cleef and Arpels Jewelry. So they went to somebody really nice to do these designs. Let's see, I don't want to do that one yet. And these were all done by Revlon, and they all are convertible, what they called convertible. They had all kinds of designs, beautiful, almost like jewelry in a way, and that's basically how they were designed. They have very fancy tops to them. I don't know if you can see that or not. Etchings, all colors. And these were, this was a new thing. Okay, so as far as I know, they were the first, although Helena Rubinstein got pretty fancy here with her little thing. The holder is not part of Revlon. They were still just doing the lipstick tubes without producing a holder. But other people were getting very creative. Now here I have something from the 50s that was ballerinas were very popular. So you have room for 3. That one doesn't go up. And of course they had started to make all different kinds of colors. Let me turn that around. Okay, now in response to Revlon's designing these beautiful tubes, Helena Rubinstein came up with something just good with the same concept. You remove the lipstick and you can use the cases. And she came up with some really beautiful ones. here. I'm going to put it in this holder, and you can see how pretty they are. And the different companies, this one doesn't even have a company name on it. This one has Petty Point material on it, and also they were starting to do these single lipstick tubes with the mirrors on it, so that you'd have a mirror to do. This one is kind of an enameled scene on it. Other companies were doing really beautiful, different. Here's one that came out a little later that was beautiful for the Revlon. And this one is Revlon, and it has a watch on it, on the top.
That's cool.
I'll put that down so you can see that. Okay, so we're moving. This is a big industry, and they're all competing. So now we have the fanciest ones that were produced. Okay, we'll put these down here. These were the first. And now we have a parade of really outrageous ones, all different companies, all different kinds of glamour and bling to them. Pearls were becoming, and you know, the 50s were rhinestones. So there's one totally in rhinestones. Here's one with a little cabochon. And they were getting square, like you already saw down there. All different sorts. Everybody, all the companies wanted to compete in this. Mother of pearl, fancy, all with stones and jewels of every kind, all different kinds. They would hire jewelers to do these, and then they would advertise. So those are pretty fancy. Now, they came out with something very unique, and this is Revlon again. They made lipstick dolls. And again, this could be used with the convertible style. So you could reuse this for different ones that it comes out like that. Just the same principle as the other ones. Now we're into the 60s here, and these dolls were very popular, and the creme de la creme of them was one that they created because of Liz Taylor's role in Cleopatra. So this is still in the original box, and that was one of the doll ones. So, was there any rivalry or competition with that? Yes. There was an artist by the name of Gemma Tuconia that made paper mache a new art form in the 1960s. And she produced these for Revlon. So this was not competition. This was just a different way of presenting that. Again, the convertible. And these were all paper mache, and she was commissioned by Revlon to do these particular dolls. This isn't all she did. You've probably maybe seen the heads that were for, she had pencil holders and heads, and this was all in the 60s. But in competition of her work, Japan started producing a look-alike. It's not really paper mache like what she did. But again, in the 60s, we still had metal tubes. They were still being produced in fancy designs. This one is Coty, and we're getting into different colors again. As time goes on, the different styles and colors changed from season to season depending on the color of the clothing and what was going on. If you went to Europe and you went to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you could get a tourist lipstick tube that was shaped like it. It's also in silver, and it has the removable as well. So you could put your convertible lipstick in, and it even leans. A little bit. It has little turquoise cabochons on it. Coty came out with a cute little thing where you could have more than one at once, and this is a little container that you would have in your purse if you needed to travel, going smaller. Then the different cases or containers, holders came out in all different ways. And this was all for the dressing table. This one's in porcelain. Okay. Silver was very popular, and so we have some that are all done in very nice filigree silver designs. This one's from Japan. This one's from the Far East. So you can see all the different styles that there were. My most expensive one is this one that's done by, it's crystal by Baccarat, and it's for Christian Dior. And this was in the early 60s. And the top comes off. This is all crystal. It's an obelisk. And your lipstick's inside here. And of course, that wasn't for travel. That was to set on your dressing table. Okay. Then we have another, this is one of my most unique ones from the 60s. Was, and I don't really go any older than 60s except for a couple of them, but it was a tiki that went on a chain, and it had a mirror on the back, and the lipstick was inside. So now you had a real piece of jewelry of not just designed by jewelers, but here was a real piece of jewelry that was to be worn. Then plastic started happening in the 60s, and they were going to kind of eliminate the metal. It was expensive. During World War II, they couldn't use very much of it because it was all used for the war efforts. So they had done some research on the plastic. Now this is definitely the 60s. These are all Avon. This one has a portrait inside. This one has flowers, flower power. We have kind of a plastic honeycomb look. Here's the traditional 50s starburst that they used on so much furniture. They used it on everything, and these are our flowers. And of course, the shades have gotten very much lighter by the end of the 60s. It was not fashionable to have dark lipstick anymore. And about 20 years ago, this company called Lamas, and I don't know where they're actually from. I thought originally they were from Egypt, decided they would do some fun plastic. It's all plastic, and the styles had changed, so people were wearing darker. But this is a bird, and this one, they're both birds. That one's kind of an eagle looking one. Then Avon, the last ones that I want to show you are Avon ones that came out, and they were fun ones. Peanut, a Coca-Cola bottle, and an ice cream cone. And they were, of course, strictly fun things. And they were a big seller. And the top kind of matches the color of the lipstick. So that's about 65 years, maybe a little longer, of lipstick containers and holders. So, can I have questions? Any questions? Susan? Oh.
Oh, is that all the original products in there?
Mostly. I really tried to find lipsticks that were, don't ask me why women saved them for 50 years, but they did. I guess that's why we have antique stores, is because people hoarded things and they didn't throw things away. And so I've tried really hard. Some are replacements. There is a way. And the Rockabilly girls love the lipstick cases, but of course it's not safe to use old lipstick. It had arsenic in it, for one thing, to make it stay. And I don't know how men ever cheated on their wives back in the 50s, because that stuff, when it gets on you, you can't wash it off. And if they had some lipstick on their collar, like the song goes, it just seems that it would have been very, very difficult to hide an affair with the kind of makeup that was being produced at the time. But yes, but there is a way. I have taken bullet, where's my bullet? I have taken bullet ones, cleaned them, sterilized them, and put new, and what you do is you freeze it, and then you can handle it without it being messy, and you can put it in there and use these. So there is a way to use them and take advantage of it. They don't have to just sit on a shelf. You can really use it. And of course, I don't know if there's any that are convertible that are being produced now that are modern. There might be, I don't know. Is there? They have to be the exact same size. See, these people got very crafty about this. These refills do not fit in each company. They made them just aggravatingly different in their measurements, that one does not fit in the other, because they wanted you to keep buying Maybelline, or they wanted to keep, have you keep buying Revlon. Okay, more questions? This is a lipstick tube on the counter at a makeup, like it's a Saks Fifth Avenue, of Guerlain, the French company Guerlain. Yeah, it's supposed to. It doesn't really. I mean, you always think of the bullet shape as a lipstick too, but this is probably from the 70s or 80s, I guess. No, it's strictly just display. That was her.
The same person. I was going to ask.
Yes, Gemma Taconia. She was American, but she studied in the 50s with Picasso and all of them. They were contemporaries in Europe. And she took the art of paper mache to a new level. And she made it look like porcelain almost. And she set up her workshop in Mexico. That's why everything says Mexico. But she signed these. On the lipstick, she only signed Gemma. And of course, on the other bigger pieces, and she did a lot. And then when Japan started mimicking her, she shut down her business. She was fed up because they were copying her. And she didn't like that. So she went into tile work after that, doing custom tile work. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for listening, and I appreciate you having the incentive to collect. And that's the end of my lip service. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that tiki one is just,